Guys, I'm back. A video. Like a video on Sterling Moss and him dying. Obviously, Sterling Moss was an absolute legend in F1. He was someone who, the fierce fighter on the track. He was someone who you knew would bring it every race. And he's someone who was an idol to Lewis Hamilton. Lewis has said in a number of talks that he thinks that Senna was his idol, and for me that is clear to see. He is someone, Senna, who raced until he was 81, I believe, not in F1 clearly. When he raced in other racing events, and he's someone who was a pioneer back in his day, along with Aerton Senna, who was another absolute legend of F1. And these people are, for me, people who are the staunch god of this sport being where it is right now. Because without people like Moss and Senna, we wouldn't have people like Aerton, Vettel, Maximo, Barrichello, Michael. These people who were in the sport before have created a pathway for your Michaels, your Hamiltons, your Vettels, your Alonsos. And listen, man, in my opinion, Fazio was another great man as well in the sport as well. So these names which I'm saying, Fazio, Moss, Aerton Senna, these guys were pioneers in this sport, and to lose someone who is that well known, well liked around the sport of F1 is a shame, because even though he's obviously quite old, he's still someone who has got a lot of knowledge of the sport. He still distinguishes a lot of F1, and he is very close to Lewis Hamilton. I'm sure Lewis is hurting a lot, like a lot of fans are, of the sport in general, because even though I didn't watch him race, you hear stories from your family members, from your parents, of how good he was. And listen, man, he is someone who will be sorely missed. I feel that if you're asking me if Senna Moss is the best to ever do it, in my opinion, it's between between a man named Senna, Lewis Hamilton, and Michael Schumacher. These three, for me, are the best to ever do it. Now, in what order, I don't know, but that's my opinion, that's my view on that matter. I feel that back on Sterling Moss for a few minutes, he is someone who you knew every race would try his best to win every race. He's a fierce fighter on the grid. He's someone who looks to win races, every race. And back in the day, he's someone who, if he chose to leave the team he was racing for and join the Italian team, then he would have won at least 2 or 3 racing world titles. But he chose to stay where he was. So for me, Sterling Moss was an absolute legend. He's a great in F1 sport, and he'll be sorely missed. Back to F1 now. Obviously, the F1's been off for quite a few months now, because obviously due to the coronavirus. And I feel that for me, Lewis is still the best driver in the world right now. He is clearly people will say that his car is the reason why he is where he is. But that's fair to say. But for me, Lewis Hamilton is clearly the best driver on the grid, as in skill wise. I've said this from back when I watched Barrichello, Michael race, that if the cars were all the same, it would be much better for us as fans to see, because then there'll be no argument over he's winning because of his car, he's winning because he has the best car, it'll be who's the best driver on the grid. And in my opinion, I think Lewis would still win, because I think Lewis is the best driver on the grid. But people will say that he's winning because he's in a car which is right now unmatched. He's in a car which is faster than every other car on the grid. And he has got a group of people who are backing him, who are, as in, people like Toto Wolff, who are at the top of their game right now, which is fair to say. But listen, man, if you go back in the history of the sport, when Vettel won his 3 in a row, when Alonso won his 2, when Michael won his as well, even though when these people won the title, they had great cars, yes they did. But for me, Michael Schumacher was the first person who I saw in F1 properly. And I watched him from when I was 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. Back then, he for me was someone who was a winner. He is someone who you knew would, every race would try his best to win, and he would do whatever it takes to win. Now, people didn't like that. I mean, which is fine, but it just shows you how much of an animal, how much of a beast he was. That he wanted to win every bloody race. Because, listen, Michael Schumacher was unliked by the public. People didn't like him as a person, but as a driver, there's no doubt in my mind that he, for me, will be up there with Hamilton and Aerton as arguably the best drivers in F1 ever. Obviously, he drove a Ferrari car, which was very good, and there have been races in Michael's career where he, shall I say, got given a race by his teammate on the last lap. And obviously these are things which people hate about him. But you have to understand that in those scenarios, Michael was the man who was leading the race to win the title. And he was in the race basically almost every other year for the title. And I think in that race, if I his own minds on back, he was second behind his teammate Barrichello back then, and he was given team orders to let Michael go past and go first. And I think at first Barrichello didn't let him past. Then I think it was on the last lap, Michael went past him and won the race. Now, these are things which people hate. Back then, it was called team orders. It's still called that now. But back then, there was no law against team orders. So basically, if that was to happen, back then, there'll be no questions by the FIA to say, why did you let him pass? Obviously, by the fans, and they'll say, why did you let him pass? But as in the head of the sports, they can't say that was illegal because it wasn't back then. But that, for me, just showed that Michael was someone who loved to be a main man. And also, for me, Michael, in the wet, in the rain, was absolute master. He was absolute god in the wet. In the wet. I mean, for me, in the rain, he was almost too good. He's someone who, I remember so many races where he dominated from start to finish, and it was a masterclass from him, from start to finish, and that just is another notch to add to his belt, if you will. Lewis Hamilton is another driver who is in the wet is superb. I think with Lewis, when he came into F1 back in 08, we saw a young man who had a lot of talent, a lot of ability, a lot of skill, but he was a bit naive in the way he raced, in the way he tries to win against his teammate as well. And he's someone who we all knew as fans of the sport, of media of the sport, knew that he would be a champion one day and very soon, because his ability, his mindset, his racing IQ was so high for a rookie. It was something that I personally had never seen before. I had never seen someone come to F1 in their first year and perform that well. He was out qualifying Alonso quite a lot. He was on race days performing very well at a very high level. And for someone that young at that time was unheard of. And I feel that he is another man who could be the best in F1 ever as well. You see, these are things which are up for debate, because in my opinion, Lewis is someone who you all knew his talent like he had from a very young age. But in his first few years under Ron Dennis, he was someone who had the ability, but his car was not right there. His car was not up to scratch enough. So when he left McLaren, I was not surprised, and that wasn't because they would talk about him joining Ferrari as well. But for me, I feel that he would never really go to Ferrari. So him joining Mercedes was not surprise, because McLaren weren't doing very well back then. And in my opinion, Lewis went there because he knew that in the long term, he would be where he is now. Now, back then, me as a fan, I was a little bit surprised because I didn't really see him going there. But he went there, and the first year was alright. But for me, Lewis is someone who, if you give him the best car, he'll win almost every single time, because he is that much of a better driver than everyone else, in my opinion. And I'm sure people say, oh, it's not fair, he's just winning because he's got a better car, da, 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 da. That's fine. But remember, there's a certain man named Vettel who won 3 titles on the bounce, and he had the best car in the Red Bull. Those 3 years, that car was unbeatable, literally unbeatable. On race day, it was virtually damn near. It was basically every race day you knew he'd win, basically. And him joining Ferrari, I, as a fan, thought, okay, let's see what he can do in a Ferrari car. But obviously, Ferrari still weren't at their peak, and still not at their peak. Yet they're still trying to improve their car, trying to make it go faster. Whereas Lewis Hamilton, on the other hand, joined a team which says to him, look, we know that you have got supreme talent, you've got ability, but give us a couple of years and we will prove to you that we will give you a car which will be the best on the paddock, on the grid. And he is now seen that his car is the best on the grid by a huge margin, by a huge gap. And listen, as a fan of the sport, it is a bit annoying to see Lewis Hamilton win more or less every other race, but it is up to other teams to try and compete with them, try and get better, try and improve. And for me, unless you're going to scrap the whole thing and say, look, we're all going to have the same car, and that's it, then for me, it's up to other teams to try and improve and try and get back at Lewis and try and get back at and try and compete with him. Because if it's down to sheer talent and stability and the car as well, then I feel like Lewis is virtually unbeatable right now. Anyway, and he's still only 31, 32, I believe. He's got at least another 2, 3 years left in the sport. Who's to say that he could add another 2 titles to his belt, if you will? So let's say about, in my opinion, Lewis is up there again with the best ever in F1. For me, it's between Lewis, Michael Schumacher, and Aerton Senna. Those 3 for me are the best to ever do it. Now, Alonso for me could have been up there, but he is someone who has tailed off. Obviously, between them, we have people like Rosberg who won 1 championship, Vettel got 3, Kimi's got 1. So obviously back in the day, these people will say that we are because we don't have cars to compete with Lewis, which is fair. But for me, if I ask my opinion is that Lewis Hamilton is the best driver in F1 right now. For me, he is the showpiece. He is the show point. He is the main man in the sport right now. People tend to look over Michael because of his antics and the way he raced was, tend to say, a bit of bad for a lot of fans to see Michael race because Michael Schumacher was a man who wouldn't win at any cost. He was someone who didn't care if he ran off of a races off a track. He wouldn't care. I have memories of seeing him race and seeing him literally shove his car into another car so that the car will go in the sand. He was a ruthless winner. He was a man who loved to win, and he did whatever it takes to win. And this is why I believe he is up there again with Senna and Lewis Hamilton as being the best ever in F1. Guys, give me your opinion down below. What you think, if you think that Lewis is the best, or Senna, or Michael. And that's my video. I'm out. Peace.